What's up, everybody? I'm Nate Liss of DynastyRankings.com. Now, I've been making fantasy content for the last 10 years, and much of that has been in the Dynasty space. So for those of you that don't know me, I was a fantasy football podcaster for the last half decade on one of the internet's most popular Dynasty podcasts. Here I am, of course, making Dynasty content here, as well as representing my brand, DynastyRankings.com. Now, guys, again, having been in the space as long as I have, you can imagine how many times I have had people reach out to me and say, look, Nate, I am looking to start my own Dynasty league. How do I do it? So in an effort to give everyone a place where they can find a video to answer all the questions required to help you start one, I decided to make my own and put it right here. Now, admittedly, there are a lot of great videos out there, but as the game continues to evolve, I think it's important to make sure that the changes that take place don't get missed in the future.
God damn it!
So here is your comprehensive, no time to stand around and smell the roses breakdown of how to start or join your very own Dynasty League. So are you ready? Let's jump right in. First off, what is a Dynasty Fantasy Football League? That's a great question. Well, it's a long-term format, different than even playing redraft. Now, most of you guys probably come from redraft leagues where you draft a team this year, and then at the end of the season, the team goes away and you redraft the very next season. In Dynasty, when we draft these players, we keep them for the duration of their career, through the trades that happen to them in the NFL, through their injuries, and worst case, possibly into retirement. With that said, it requires a year-round commitment, from how you draft to how you trade to, of course, keeping up with even the biggest and the smallest news around the league. Clear your calendars. But in my opinion, it is the best format for diehard fantasy football players looking to go even deeper down that rabbit hole.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
So now that we know what Dynasty Fantasy Football is, how do we start a league? Well, starting leagues are easier now than ever thanks to so many great services which have popped up over the last couple years. Now, again, there are a lot of great services out there, but for the sake of this video, I'm only going to recommend one. And it is my personal favorite and the one that I literally host every single Dynasty league that I play in on, and that's Sleeper. Because it's customizable in every single way that you can imagine, and they continue to enhance and evolve the platform to this day, which is something that I love. You can adjust the amount of teams in your league, decide if you want to play with divisions or conferences. You can add co-managers to teams so you can split up the workload with your friends, and you can even choose whether you want to play head-to-head formats where you set your lineup each week, or even play a best ball version where your weekly top scorers do all the work for you. You name it, and it can be done on Sleeper, which again is the main reason that I can't help but recommend it. Okay, so now we've selected our platform, but we don't have any teams to put in it. What do? Now, many of us play in at least one league, which we typically refer to as a home league. It's often our longest standing league, and it was built with a group of local friends who we all decided to take this plunge into Dynasty with. And honestly, I found this the best way to do it because it's always a great idea to jump into a league where everybody is at a similar level of experience at the same time. Because in the beginning, everybody learns the do's and don'ts of Dynasty Fantasy Football the hard way. Of course, if you want to jump into the deep end immediately, Sleeper offers a fantasy football channel where you can find all different sorts of leagues to join. New ones, old ones, specialty ones, you name it, all the information is available right there for you to make a determination on whether or not this is a league you want to join. Of course, one more additional option can be found after joining our DynastyRankings.com Discord server by making your way down to the League Finder channel and exploring the options that exist. If that interests you, a link is in the description below. All right, so you've joined a league or started one of your own, so what happens next? Well, it's typically one of two things. If it's a new league entering its first season, you will typically do what's referred to as a startup draft. These can typically range from 20 to 40 rounds, and honestly, they're one of the funnest things that you'll ever do in the format, but doing them wrong can literally make or break your roster. Everything from draft day trades to third round reversals to even rookie picks take place inside of these things. Now, of course, it would take me an entire other video to explain all these features, but for now, let's just keep it simple. Let's keep going. Now, the second option is that you've joined an existing league and taken over an abandoned roster from a previous owner.
We're gonna build a new settlement. We'll have a happy new life and we'll have equal rights for all. No, you know what? Nobody gets any rights. America.
These are typically referred to as orphan teams, and it's your job to get them back on track. When you enter an already existing league, there isn't a startup draft. However, there's something just as fun, and that's a rookie draft. These can be anywhere from 4 rounds to 7 rounds depending on the league size and consist of every new rookie that is coming into the league that particular year. These can be more difficult than a startup draft though, because these rookies have never been seen on an NFL field, so their success at the NFL level isn't guaranteed, and this is where the commitment begins. Okay, so now you've got a league full of teams and it's time to decide what format or settings you guys want to play with. Now, if you're joining a league, make sure to review the scoring settings because nothing stings worse than joining a league that you absolutely cannot stand the settings in. If you're starting a new league from scratch, there is a ton to consider about the settings. Are you playing PPR, half-point PPR, standard, 1 quarterback, super flex where you can start 2 quarterbacks? Are you playing tight end premium? Is this league going to have conferences or multiple divisions? There's a lot at stake when originally building these, so let me give you a few of my favorite settings. My personal favorite setting for new leagues is a 12 to 14 team league playing PPR with point per reception scoring so that running backs, tight ends, and receivers all get added points for every catch that they make. And of course, I love a super flex format where you get 1 additional roster spot where any starter, including a quarterback, can be stuffed into, making quarterbacks even more valuable. And last but not least, I also love a tight end premium format because it gives added value to the tight ends in the league for the catches that they're making in game. And it's great to plan ahead with your roster size choices and scoring formats, as oftentimes leagues continue to evolve, and what you leave out today could cause a fantastic level of controversy tomorrow. For instance, if you're in year 2 of a league and you were previously a 1 quarterback league and now you want to change it to a super flex setting, I can promise you that at least one league owner in your league who had only drafted 1 quarterback will have a full Britney Spears umbrella moment meltdown.
Leave Britney alone!
So my advice is to discuss all the settings, put it to a vote,
They rigged the election.
plan ahead with your league members, and do this before you launch. So the next question to naturally ask yourself is, what's at stake? Now, some leagues are free, and it's a loose, fun way to play, but doesn't always encourage a long-term commitment from the other members of the league, which is why many new leagues with less experienced players usually look at $25 to $50 as a great starting point for an annual fee. Now, I would encourage $25 for new players, and I would avoid playing in free Dynasty leagues. I mean, by the end of year 1, you will have put so many hours into this process that the last thing that you want is someone bailing because they didn't care whatsoever at the end of the day because they had nothing at stake. So now everybody's agreed on cost, and of course, it's time to start collecting the dues.
No! It's a tax collector!
And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this is usually the biggest pain in the ass of the entire process. But this next part is incredibly important, so pay attention. Collect your annual league dues up front before any drafts begin each year. A future financial commitment is really important if someone is going to make permanent moves to any roster, including their own. In fact, many of the leagues that I play in actually require 2 years of payments up front as an extra measure to ensure that people are committed before they make any future moves. Now, if this is a local league, of course, you can always exchange cash in hand or use something simple like a digital pay platform like Cash App or PayPal or something like that. But for those of you that aren't playing in a format like this, another option I use for all of my leagues is a platform called LeagueSafe. This service kind of works as a middleman. You can set up your individual leagues and they will collect dues from every owner that plays in them. The best part of this though is that they will actually hold them till the end of the season, where the commissioner can have sole power to distribute the winnings, or better yet, you can leave it up to a league majority vote for distribution. This way, nobody has to be responsible for holding on to any cash or dealing with the distribution themselves, and this is actually a really great option for those of you that decide to get into Dynasty leagues with people that you do not know personally. Because there's nothing worse than getting to the end of the season and finding out that the commissioner spent the entry fees on something like a new jean jacket or some shit. I don't know. Okay, now everything is in place. The league is full, the format has been set, and you finally collected league dues, and now it's time for the most important draft in the league's history, and that's the startup draft. As I mentioned earlier, this draft can literally make or break your roster and cap your ability to win for years to come. I mean, honestly, there might be no worse feeling than tanking in your first season, and by year 2, having the realization that your team will not be competitive for 3 or 4 more seasons. And that's if you're lucky. And this is where the commitment comes into play. So using social media platforms like Twitter or Reddit to follow experienced Dynasty analysts can be a huge benefit, or even searching the web for websites that host their own expert Dynasty rankings, just like this one right here, can be a great idea. So now you've armed yourself with your draft strategy, where you think your favorite players are going to fall, what startup picks you might consider trading, and of course, all the data that you will need to be successful.
We did it!
So there's nothing left to do but start drafting. Once your startup draft is over, the fun really begins. Making trades with other owners, dealing future picks, all of it comes into play. These deals, big and small, can elevate your team to the top of the league or the absolute rock bottom in a hurry. So for God's sakes, do your homework first. This is something that I've spent years working on and actively still do with members of my patron community. We talk trades, startup strategies, rookie values, all of it. So if you want exclusive Dynasty content to give yourself a leg up on the competition, then come see me and let me help you build a championship roster at patreon.com/I'm outraged. And that's it. Now, this video could have easily been an hour long. So if you still have questions, drop them in the comments section below and I'll gladly answer every one of them. There's just so much nuance and variation to this format that it's near impossible to break all this down in a beginner video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, hit the subscribe button below, as well as giving this video a like so I can get it in front of other owners just like you. And while you're here, go check out some of my other fantasy football videos where I do a bunch of advanced metric breakdowns on players that I think are an absolute value going into next season. And thanks for checking it out.